All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Gonna try to see if plutonium works. I tried to play this a little while ago when I was getting back into the swing of uploading. I made just kind of like a test commentary that I wasn't gonna upload just to, get a feel for, as I said, getting back into the swing of everything. And I tried to play some plutonium into that. It didn't necessarily work out the greatest. I something kind of sketched me out, and I was like, you know what? I think that's enough plutonium for the day. But we are going to see how this goes. The server should have a decent ping for me. God, this feels fucking weird. I'm not used to this style of COD at all, dude. Oh boy. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to pay more attention to the fucking calling cards and shit, I guess. I did not know that was a thing on plutonium. But I'm on Call of Duty today. Had a couple of videos that I was gonna make today. I'm really gonna probably end up recording 3 separate videos today. Oh shit, that's not what I wanted to do. How do I fucking gain altitude? Ascend. Okay, honestly, that's probably for the best. I thought that was a swarm. But in the midst of me trying to get everything together for these videos, I decided to take a little bit of a break. I was getting something to eat, and I was trying to reinstall Escape from Tarkov. And while I was doing that, I was like, you know what? I haven't checked out BT in a while, and I'd been meaning to because he made a video responding to something that T-Dog Smitty said, and I hadn't watched it, so I decided to check it out. And there was something that Blame Truth said in that video that reminded me that there was a video that I wanted to make a couple months ago. But what exactly it was that Blame Truth said that made me want to sit down and record this video was something that he had said about the limited time modes in Call of Duty. When it comes to the way modern gaming tries to incentivize players to play their games and not, just even continue playing, but to come back, I have to be so honest. It has made me very tired. There are all these different studios using these same strategies. For me, it's just so hard to even keep track of everything that's new in all these different games, between your Fortnites of the world to really take your pick of multiplayer game. There's always new seasons dropping. This whole limited time, like, come now while you still can. It's the classic salesman approach where, come on down to Rick's Pawn Emporium. This is the only time this year you're going to see deals like this. After today, these deals are gone. You're only going to catch these deals today. Another thing that Blame Truth said in this video was going back to the Michael Myers, I guess, kind of LTM in Call of Duty Ghost, where they bring these things in, these modes that people like. And, it's nice. We want them to add things to the game that we're all going to enjoy. But then it begs the question, why not leave it in? Why not fill your game with modes that people want to play, with things that people want to do? But instead, they'd rather hype up this limited time release, like, oh, like, get on this weekend for, this thing, get on for double XP. It's gonna be, Nuketown 24/7, shipment 24/7. If you're a grinder and you're trying to get to like Master Prestige, this is gonna be your only time to do it. Get on now, or you're a fucking loser. But they're using all these different things, and really what it comes down to, and what I kind of narrowed it down to, is FOMO. They're just trying to use FOMO to get people to interact with their game, to play their content. And for me, this strategy of leveraging the fear of missing out works. And I think it's just kind of naturally ingrained into what social media is. It's the whole reason why, you get so addicted to checking your phone constantly to see if you have new messages. I can remember back to being in middle school when I, really was first getting super deep into social media and, having a bunch of different accounts and all the different platforms, Snapchat, Instagram, all of that. And I'd be constantly checking my phone because I'm like, if someone messages me, I don't want to miss it. And like, if they miss it, are they going to think that I ignored it? And it's all built on leveraging someone's own emotions and their own, really their brain against them. And I think for the most part, this worked for a while, but I think largely what we've seen with the decline in player base for, games even like Call of Duty, but I think, the example goes for a lot of other games just in general, comes down to people just not really caring. I can remember back to a time when the thing was, after school, everyone's gonna get on the game, we're gonna get into a party, we're gonna get into a private match. Oh my god, and like everyone's playing this new game came out, it's like, oh, what do you mean you don't play Halo? Like, are you crazy? Everyone's playing Halo, why aren't you playing it? What, do you not like it? And really, you could be kind of excised from certain groups when there's these big fads, these big crazes where one game or one piece of pop culture was kind of taking over all of media for a time, whereas now even, real life things, real world things like, the COVID pandemic, I think has made some people at least a lot happier with existing in their own bubble. It got people used to not worrying about what those people they see in person think so much, because they didn't have to interact with them on a daily basis. There was no real expectation. And granted, I mean, there's a lot of things that benefited from COVID-19, but I think clearly that was more a matter of, people just not having anything to do. I'm probably going to be all over the place because I've really tried to have conversations with myself where I can boil this down to a couple, more clear, more thought out examples. And, I also got to be honest, this is my first time playing Black Ops 2 in such a long time, so I'm kind of locked in right now. But I do think there could be this association with FOMO where these companies are constantly putting pressure on you. They're constantly telling you right now you need to be on all the things I've been saying. There's so much pressure put on the player to do exactly what the developer is wanting them to do. It almost kind of gives me vibes of maybe like that one person in the friend group that's always pressuring people like, oh man, you got to try this, you got to try that, oh, you got to check out this place, that place. And it's always like something new with this person. It's always something new. They're always telling you to do all these things. And I know I definitely had, times like that in school where it's like, you have a friend telling you like, oh man, you got to play this game, it's crazy. And you play it and you're underwhelmed because in your world, all you've heard are reasons why you should be playing it. You're building up this expectation in your head. You're expecting the content to be worth the hype, and it's just not. And I think they reached this point of success where maybe they weren't so conscious of the times they were in. Even if you boil it down to the quote from The Office, I wish I knew it was the good old days before the good old days are over, where it's kind of hard to know as a developer that you're currently existing in the golden era of gaming for your specific genre. Like really hone in on that 2007 to 2012 period from COD 4 to Black Ops 2. The entire shooter space was really thriving during that point, and Call of Duty being probably the greatest beneficiary of that era did force out other competitors. You had games like Medal of Honor and other titles that Call of Duty was able to beat out, and those titles really died. And it's really hard to know, and I think not knowing this can maybe cloud the reasons for your success. And then maybe those reasons for success, if you're looking for like, oh well, how were we able to accomplish this? I think a lot more of it can be more easily attributed to, well, it's got to be this strategy, it's got to be this guy, it's got to be Mark. Like we hired Mark and he started implementing these new tools, these new strategies. He had all these great ideas for how we could market, things we could adapt to, different lanes we could pivot into. We weren't really in radio marketing before him, and we got into it, and then all of a sudden we saw these crazy leaps and bounds being made. And I think it can leave room for someone to really build an ego and to really get in their head that I can't miss. You go over to your friend's house and you're playing 2K, and every shot you're throwing up is green. You're like, wow, like I'm way better than I thought I was. Little do you know, he's got a fucking Cronus set to fucking auto green, and you didn't even know the entire time that there were outside factors making things the way they were that you could not perceive in that moment. And it's really nothing even against the developers. Like, you're getting all this critical acclaim. The fans are telling you they love everything. I don't necessarily blame someone for really getting in their head that people want what we have to offer, and at a certain point, can you really blame someone for putting a period at the end of that and thinking that it's not just they really liked this, it's just they like us? But going back to the example of having that person in school that's always peer pressuring you, always telling you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to try this, it's crazy, you don't even know until you try it. I'm telling you, on God, bro, I'm not lying, I'm being so for real right now, dead ass, bro. And something that I know I've experienced, that I think everyone's experienced, is a fatigue with those kinds of people at a certain point. You try so many things, you just get it in your head where it's like, this dude's taste in whatever it is just whack, and he's always telling me about the wackest shit, and it's so annoying. And to a point, these games, because of their marketing and because of their content strategies, can kind of almost to a point become that annoying friend that's always trying to get you to do things that you never want to do. And I think it's this push and pull where you're being told what to do. They are telling you to come play the game, whereas before they were really just providing reasons why you should be. Back in the day, and in the prime of everything, in that golden age of video games, and I guess more specifically shooters, it really felt like you had no reason to not be playing. You were missing out if you weren't there, because it was such a big cultural thing. And I don't think that's ever really left the minds of these studios. The way everything is, you know, seemed to me, it still seems like they're operating like they're the shit, like they're the big dog on the block. They're the big dick in the locker room, so to speak. And it's just not the case. There's so many more options now. There's so many more experiences that are just simply compelling for people to want to interact with on the basis of what that experience is and what it gives you, what it has to offer. And comparatively to something that just by the nature of what the release schedule is, you know, ostensibly the same thing every year. Like no matter what, you know, you say, you know, the biggest COD fanboy, you know, even like myself, someone who likes Call of Duty, if you boil it down to it, it's a new game every year with a new story and different maps for you to shoot similar guns in and have the same loop of gameplay. And I've even said, you know, just out loud, like the gameplay loop of Call of Duty is what gets me coming back, is what gets me to keep playing. You know, there aren't really many experiences out there similar to this, but I'm still open to finding those. I've had many conversations with my friend Dave, who I'm sure you guys are familiar with if you've, you know, watched some of my more funny moment style of videos on the channel, where I've told him, dude, there's days where I kind of want to play X-Defiant, and Call of Duty doesn't really, you know, cross my mind that much. And the more I experience, the more I open myself up to these different experiences. You know, there are days where I'm like, you know what, let's play Battlefield today. You know, let's do something different. I want more of that experience. And that outside pull on Call of Duty's players, getting them to move further away from their franchise, is really only going to be getting stronger. We have Gears of War E-Day coming out, Halo Campaign Evolved just getting a remaster. There's rumors all over the place about games like Medal of Honor coming back, and you know, even Medal of Honor, say what you will about, you know, what the expectation is going to be for it, you know, it coming back, how close it's going to be to what it was at its peak. And that was a game back in the day that people had talked about as, you know, potentially being the COD killer, the game that, you know, potentially could have beat out Call of Duty. I really think they've just leveraged FOMO until the point where there's nothing that anyone is missing out on anymore. And that's really the point where people just stop caring. Like, I like Call of Duty. I get clowned by Dave constantly for how much I like Call of Duty. But do I play Call of Duty every single day? No, I don't have that thing that's driving me to play Call of Duty every day. Are there maybe weeks where I'm really enjoying the game and I might be playing it a lot that week? Absolutely. But it's just one of those things where these days I just don't really feel like there's anything that I'm missing out on. And maybe it's because I do have access to PC, you know, I have access to console, you know, I'm not really limited by platforms so much anymore. So I do have all these past experiences at my fingertips where, you know, like what I'm doing right now. If I want to go and play Black Ops 2, I can play Black Ops 2. If I really wanted to, I could install Modern Warfare 3 on Steam and I could connect to the Modern Warfare 3 servers on this game. And I'm not saying that, you know, as a reason why, you know, these things shouldn't exist. I know if someone at fucking Activision can hear this, like, oh, well, they're fucking stealing our players, brother. I think it's not so much that Call of Duty is losing their players. I think they're kind of just being driven away. And it's for a variety of reasons. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is the only reason why people are choosing not to interact with Call of Duty, but it's up there, dude. It's up there. Because at a certain point, as I said, you start to feel like there's nothing you're missing out on. But then because there's always this marketing that there's always something new that's in your face every single time, even the experience of playing the game is just too much. I'm not coming back to the game for all this new content. What is keeping me coming back is the experience. But even now, I don't even think my fucking Call of Duty's up to date right now. But if I were to open it, I guarantee you, I probably even have clips of it. You open the game and you're immediately bombarded with the trailer for the new season. You get past that and you're like, okay, now I can play the game. And then it's the trailer for the new limited time event going on with fucking whatever the fuck. I remember when they had the Fallout shit, you have that thing playing every single time. And then you can't even interact the menus without being constantly bombarded with what's new and all this different stuff. This is what you need to do to complete these fucking tasks to unlock this camo. And did I mention there's also a battle pass for the fucking Fallout event, so you can unlock these limited time rewards that aren't available in the regular battle pass, even though it's the exact same price as the regular battle pass. And it's all so much that I think that in itself drives people away as well. And it's made me at times not want to play the game because I'm always bombarded with everything that's new. So much will be new in the game. There will be so many things added to it. And maybe this bleeds over more into what drives me away from other games and other genres. But it gets me to a point where I'm like, well, how far behind am I? So much of Call of Duty now, at least optically in media, is this fixation. And I think maybe it's dying down a little bit, but this fixation with what the meta is. It's always the best thing, the newest thing. And when they're adding new things into the game that, you know, is constantly changing. And even that culture shift within the space drives me away, where I don't want to have to worry about the new meta stuff. When I play the game, I just use whatever gun I'm liking at that time. And I try to switch around and use different guns just for the fuck of it, just to see how I do, or, you know, try something out, try to find a better class setup. And maybe I'm getting a little bit, you know, off topic. Maybe I'm going on a little bit of a tangent, but I think this strategy they're using, trying to leverage this fear of missing out, has got to stop. I think they need to focus on why people like the franchise, why the people that come back do come back, and they need to work on making that part of the game as good as it possibly can be. And especially stop worrying about what the new trend is, what people are doing, because I think that in of itself maybe lends to FOMO as well, where we see these massive shifts in resource allocation when, you know, now Fortnite's the biggest game in the world. We got to make a battle royale because we got to be able to compete with that. And then all of a sudden Tarkov and other extraction shooters are gaining a bunch of popularity. It's becoming a bigger thing. And now Call of Duty is like, well, these genres are getting popular. We were kind of behind the 8 ball with Fortnite. We didn't really see Fortnite coming. Let's get ahead of this. Let's make DMZ. And I think there's too much of a focus nowadays in the corporate world with trying to be everything but yourself. And I think that could even be true for people nowadays in general. I think people have this just inherent opposition to being themselves and just being who they are. And Call of Duty easily could have just been themselves. Granted, you know, they did benefit a lot from what Warzone brought to them in terms of, you know, player numbers, monetary gains, all of that. But how much has that also done negatively to the game over the course of time? I'm personally someone that doesn't believe Warzone should have happened at all. I think Call of Duty should have just stayed Call of Duty. I think they had no reason to make a battle royale. But even at the corporate level, they feel this fear of missing out, where it's like, we got to capitalize on this, we can't miss out. And look at the situation they're in now, record low players. You look up, you know, the name of their newest game online, and the majority of the videos you see are people complaining about the things they don't like about it, people hating on the game, hating on the developers, and that's not encouraging to bring people back. And I think they're at this point where what's the cost compared to the benefit of continuing on the path you're on versus actually giving people what they want, because you're trying to generate this fear of missing out by constantly having these new things. It's the new battle pass, it's the new LTM for this weekend only, this game mode's going to be out and it's going to be double XP for this. But when these people play these games and they haven't played in a while, maybe they do poorly and they try to look up class setups and they're looking at class videos. Because they're watching Call of Duty, they're probably going to be getting recommended videos of people talking about things they don't like about your game. And if their experience doesn't go well, if they're like, man, this really is what I thought it was, I'm really not feeling it, I'm gonna stop playing. Maybe they're sitting in bed one day, it's 1:30 in the morning, they can't sleep, and that Rick video comes up, that Fooly video comes up, that Blame Truth video comes up, and the things that these guys say aren't just created out of their own imagination. They're founded in actual fact and reality. You know, there are things wrong with these games, and you're creating this negative feedback loop where people are having negative interactions with your game, and that is being positively reinforced by the negativity surrounding the game in the content creation ecosystem. And I don't even know if I properly explained literally anything with anything that I've said in this. It's kind of just turned into a little bit of a rant at this point, but it's a video that I wanted to make ages and ages ago, before my multiple fucking sabbaticals that I've taken. But now that I'm back and I'm making videos and I'm being consistent, like I said, I was watching Blame Truth and he said that, and I was like, I feel the exact same fucking way. Hopefully you guys, someone out there gets it or something. Maybe I'm just fucking crazy. I'm sitting here talking to myself in my room while I should be cuddling with my dog on my bed who's taking a nap. But please, if you have anything to say about anything that I talked about, if you think what I'm saying is, you know, onto something, if you think, you know, maybe the way I explained it was a little bit convoluted, which, you know, surprise, surprise, me explaining something in a convoluted ass way, and maybe you have a clear way of, you know, even trying to explain it to me, and you think maybe I'm off course a bit, please let me know down in the comment section down below. As I said, I'm working on a video where I reacted to the Xbox showcase. This video here that I'm recording is going to come out the 7th. I'm going to shift directly into editing this before I make those other videos. But I think I have ranted and raved enough for today. I'm starting to feel like fucking Steve Dangle over here talking about the Maple Leafs. I will wrap this video up here. To you guys watching, please try to have the best day you possibly can. I really appreciate everyone who's been interacting with the videos, has been checking out the channel lately. But with all that being said, I will catch you guys later.
But you ration yours. You open up just to close the door, just to close